Okay, we are officially live on our Facebook page, and this is the first official Landscape Committee meeting of 2024. So thank you all for attending and everything that you all did last year. We're going to recap that, which I'm excited to go over. We're going to try and touch on the major things, not every little detail. But we did a lot last year. Everyone that's here, everyone that's not here who was on the committee did a lot, and therefore we accomplished a lot. So I'm excited to go over that. And then we're gonna go into things that are current right now, things that are in progress, projects that are pending with some of our vendors, and then try and set some new goals for the new year and see how much more we can accomplish in the next 12 months. So let's go ahead and dive into it. So I'm gonna do just a committee member roll call, and as of right now we have Tony Foti, Paula Colson, and Adam Trenter. And we're gonna go ahead and begin with the 2023 recap, which is going over all the key items that we got into as a committee. We're able to get new vendors and take care of things, but more importantly, it was a way to look back and see where we had our successes as a committee, and we can kind of take a look at that with a wide lens, and then anything that to us we noticed really worked well, or as a committee how we worked well, we should continue to apply those things moving forward. Anywhere where we had a breakdown in the process of working with, say, the board or property manager or with each other, we can look at that too and make adjustments. So just going back to the beginning, actually it started right around January of last year, where I was asked to become the landscape committee chair, and then from that point on, very quickly, we started to acquire members, which I was really excited about because I didn't anticipate any of that happening right out of the gate. I just honestly was in the dark and didn't know what I was doing, but then, you neighbors and others started to show up and say that you wanted to support the committee, support our community, and it just continued to grow. And ultimately, we grew to about 11, 12 members in total, and we might have somewhere around that this year as we start to collect the applications, but I honestly feel like that was one of the coolest accomplishments of the whole year, as just to seeing people who are like-minded, motivated to help our community come together and be very consistent in that support and the work that we did. The big ticket item at the beginning of last year was bidding out landscaping services. So that happened pretty quickly, and we obviously ran into multiple challenges there, but I'd say ultimately the big takeaway from last year is that we found our landscape maintenance vendor, CPM, and I gotta say personally they've been incredible to work with and have done an amazing job turning this community around and making it look as nice as it does. And coming into the holidays, I know everybody was hoping we would have a beautiful community to share with friends and family, and I felt like we did, despite a few things here and there, and honestly, very minimal on that front. So that was really just a lot of work, and I'd say the big win in all of that was doing our homework. Honestly, I feel like we looked at a ton of different vendors. We called on properties, we talked to other property managers, we spoke directly with those vendors, we vetted them, as much as we possibly could, and we were able to compare apples to apples, which ultimately was the goal when looking for a new vendor, and I feel like we did that really well. Now, as we started to land on who was going to be our next new vendor, and this is all post landscape creations and all of that, we got clear as to what was the true process for accomplishing that task. So I'm looking back and I'm seeing what really helped us get to being partners with CPM. It was continuing to ask the right questions, many questions, and then, as a unit, start to come up with new answers and angles into which we can actually solve those problems and answer those questions. And I think with CPM, we got a little bit lucky, but we also were very prepared. And I honestly believe that's how we ended up where we are today. We also have, our irrigation wet check vendor, Doug Reed, who has been doing also an amazing job, regularly doing wet checks for us to ensure that our sprinkler systems are working, our home sprinklers are watering properly, and if ever there's a work order, anything needed to be resolved, when he's on site, he goes and he takes care of it. He's been doing that consistently. He's brought me information about things that he was working on that weren't related to wet checks. He's given me reports. He's been great at communicating. He's helped me sort of prepare those maps for the community to know where he was going to be on those wet checks, which is all part of us strengthening communications as a committee and the neighborhood. So I'm real happy, to be working with Doug Reed again this year. And he already reached out to me, at the beginning of the year, letting me know what he was going to be doing, and that he's there. We need him for anything. So. On the topic of communications, I feel like we were doing a decent job with actually giving people a heads up on what they can expect from new vendors. So creating some of these responsibility flyers, getting those out there, getting feedback and making revisions so that people are very clear and aligned with what they can place a work order for and ask of from their vendors, from our property manager, and our maintenance tech, but also like what they are responsible for, so they know what to take care of, keep an eye on throughout the year, and if they have any questions, they've been able to reach out to us as a committee. They've been able to reach out to the property manager. The work order system has been working really well, and those work orders are being processed quickly. I have seen a couple cases where maybe there was a delay or there was a lag, but as far as I know, everything has been resolved as of last year, and any new working orders are being dealt with, this month. So one new thing though, and we'll touch on this, is as a committee, we'll be able to sort of dive a little deeper into the work order process and take a look at any open work orders, and we can assess what needs to be done in order to get those completed. We can also assess, how things are going with the work order process, certain vendors receiving those work orders. So that's another thing we can kind of tighten up on this year that we'll discuss a little bit later in the meeting. And we, as a community, the board, one of the big decisions last year was to separate out a bunch of the services within landscaping, preserve lakes, wetlands, all that maintenance, the pump, all that stuff was getting broken up into different vendors, which was at the beginning of the year something that we were trying to figure out how we were going to approach that, but I honestly feel like it was the best decision since doing that. With CPM for landscaping, we got Doug on irrigation, and we also have Coastal Pest Control for pest control, weed control, and fertilization, and they've been doing a great job too. And so we're now looking to continue that pattern in this new year with finding vendors for preserve, cleanup, and maintenance, for lakes and wetlands maintenance, and we do have a vendor for pump maintenance, which Paula helped us with, and so that is underway. And we're also looking to, tackle some bigger projects as well. But I think having them all separated out, keeping each vendor accountable, has been a strength for our community in terms of, being able to keep an eye on those particular services, and then we can actually know if there's a problem, we can go to that vendor and resolve it. And also no one vendor is overwhelmed by having to take care of everything under landscaping. Okay, let's see. Trying to skip across just a lot of details. I'm going to end up releasing this, by the way, just for anyone who wants to see what we did actually do last year, some of the details and in between the moments throughout the year. I'll put this on the Facebook page, and I'll have Courtney make it available to us on the website too. And we did the cleanup, which was a big transitional point for us in terms of getting a lot of things that needed to be taken care of prior to bringing in that new vendor, so that they themselves weren't overwhelmed and can actually just take care of the staple items for us, which was mowing of lawns, edging, blowing, and all of that good stuff. And it ended up working out really well. Brightview was our vendor for the cleanup, and I would say, in my opinion, they did an excellent job. They were really easy to work with in terms of communication, and I was happy with the end result prior to CPM coming in. And actually, the end of the year, I think, was stacked with a lot of projects. After we landed CPM and we knew exactly what we needed to take care of, having them as our vendor made it really convenient for us to get proposals quickly on certain projects, like the pre-holiday light tree trimming, right? That was a timely matter. We ended up getting that taken care of with CPM. They have the tree trimming division, which did an amazing job, and their leader over there was Jody. And so that was just one project. We also ended up doing a little beautification. As many people can see, that we have like our flowers at the front and main entranceways. It's a nice little touch. It really does stand out. It's drastically different when you're driving by or turning in. You can see, okay, this place cares about the details, and those details stood out, especially for the holidays with the poinsettias and the reds. I thought it was really nice. They were also helping us take care of some other cleanup issues. We had the accident on High Meadow. CPM helped us clean up all the debris from that. We've gotten proposals from them on bush hog on the lakes, which they ended up taking care of. These were things that, as we're building the relationship with CPM, we're finding that they are very motivated to help us in other areas that they are experts in, which is really great. That's the type of thing that we want to have with our vendors, is to build really strong relationships, have the trust in them that they can help us with those things. And so far, so good. And we have more projects to look at with them in this new year. We're going to touch on a couple of those that are in progress now we received proposals. Those proposals got approved. Now it's just a matter of landing the dates in which they're going to get accomplished. But again, CPM doing a fantastic job there. And then with Coastal Pest and Fur, they started off with a little bit of an issue regarding one of the sprays, but they corrected that immediately after we brought it to their attention, stopped using a certain chemical, switched to something better, and since then have been very consistent, easy to work with. We get their schedules, we know what to expect from them, and with them, I think it's more of a long-term, results-based process. So we, again, need to just be patient. We're going to see results as we get into the grow period. That's typically when you start to see like the fertilization get applied and take in a way that actually stands out. So, Jim is very intelligent, expert in his field, and I do trust that he is taking care of us in that regard. CPM also cleared out the outfall and culvert area on Bald Eagle, which was, if anybody saw it prior, it was a jungle in there. It was massive. There was like a tree, I think, growing out of the culvert, which was crazy. But I mean, it hasn't been touched in what seemed like over a year or more. And they went in there and they cleared it all out. And it was night and day. It looked amazing. But again, those are the things CPM is able to take care of. And they're very quick to get us back proposals and reply to us in an email. So again, all good stuff there. else major here? We had our first landscape committee outing as a unit. That was really fun. So we hope to plan more of those. So if anybody's thinking of joining the committee, we do have some fun outside of the meetings. We actually got together, had dinner over at, Townies? Yeah, Townies. And it was a good time. So hopefully we can do it either quarterly or biannually. But either way, I look forward to the next one of those. And yeah, so regarding the Sullivan is our vendor. Sullivan Pump and Electric for pump maintenance and dive services. They were able to assess our pump toward the end of last year, actually in December. We did a dive service which confirmed that our intake valves are good to go, and we have a report or a diagnostic informational sheet or whatever from them that I think it's sent to Courtney. I have to get that from Courtney, but either way, we should have a total breakdown of what they found when they looked at our pump and they assessed it and they did their first service of the year 2 in that appointment. And we did a lot of touring around of the property, interviewing vendors, sitting down, asking many questions, going back and forth with emails, and also consulting with the local experts like the ones for Preserve and Uplands, which is Lindy Serrar, and then Lakes and Wetlands, which is Caleb Siggins. So they came out, they walked through the preserve with us, they looked at our lakes, all that stuff, and gave us the type of feedback we needed to start making decisions on choosing a preserve maintenance vendor, a lake maintenance vendor. And so we are bidding those out still, but we feel really well informed. We have some proposals. We have to sit back down and now align with the information we received from Lindy and Caleb with the proposals that we received and the vendors that are right now active and have sent those proposals to us. And yeah, that pretty much rounded out the year last year, which, if anybody wants to actually go through this, you can see there's a lot more that actually was done in between all of this, but those were really the key items I wanted to touch on. So I mean, for my first year, I didn't expect it to be so busy. But I think we did a great job. I'm proud of the work we did, and looking forward to just accomplishing way more in this year. I think it was the foundational year, like we kind of set the stage. And now that we have those big ticket vendors, we're going to find those next sort of smaller ticket vendors, but still big projects that need to be dealt with. And I think we're going to do that real quickly this year. And then it's just a matter of keeping each one accountable, following up, sitting down with them on a regular basis just to review and assess things, do those walkthroughs, and just keep things rolling. So, that's pretty much it for the recap. Any questions? Anything anyone wants to add that maybe I missed last year? Nothing?
No, it's good recap.
Okay, cool. All right, on to open issues. So, CPM, all right, they are already mowing for this month. I think they mowed this week. I think the next one's going to be 2 weeks from now because we're on a 2-week schedule. But we're supposed to get that exact January schedule from them, and then also a tentative 2024 schedule, which tentative meaning weather can cause changes, things can get shifted around, but either way we'll have an idea of when we're going to get, say, 2 mows a month, mowing weekly, when all of that stuff happens. So we should be getting that from John Johnson over at CPM pretty soon. And in terms of pending projects with them, I know right now we are looking to get dates on the replacement of the Kalusha hedges that were blocking that culvert wall. The accident that happened Halloween, those bushes got taken out, so we're going to get those replaced. A proposal was sent and approved, so we should be going on that. There's also...
I got a follow-up question.
Sure.
I'm inquired of Courtney. There was a lady, I think she was drunk or otherwise, lost control, was down the hedge.
Yeah.
She was arrested.
Yeah.
Okay, she has to have a court date to go to court, and then part of the restitution should be replenishing and fixing that hedge. put restitution unless she can prove that she can't afford it. But if we ignore it, I know we have insurance or something like that. Can you give me kind of an update that I can get back to Michelle, whatever, what's going on with that, if you know anything?
I do know that I think Geico was her insurance company, and so Courtney is in touch with Geico about what was basically the payout through her insurance. So I imagine we're kind of in a reimbursement plan with this particular installation, right? So the proposal from CPM was what it was going to cost, how many hedges were going to be put there. I don't know if that is going to get greenlit after we get confirmation or not. I just know that's one of the kind of like front-running projects with CPM this year. And although Courtney getting back from the holidays, all of us kind of getting back, I think we're going to kind of figure out exactly what's happening behind the scenes.
On that to see what's going on there.
Yeah.
Was she, this person, was she told, maybe I'm wrong?
Who was driving?
Yeah.
Yes.
Was she a member of our committee?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. I think Paul had a question.
I did.
Yeah.
It was regarding the calendar. As of today, I did not look, but yesterday, the events are not on the Highlands Reserve Homeowners Association event calendar for landscape calendar. It was blank for January.
Okay.
I do know that the only reason why I was able to put them on my own personal calendar was because of the Friday update that she put on there.
Yes.
Is it our responsibility when we get, as in the landscape committee, is it our responsibility to get that onto the landscape calendar on the website, or is it Castle's?
It's Castle's. Our responsibility is to try and confirm that it's up there, really. So I believe because we haven't gotten those schedules yet, she hasn't put anything in there.
But we did have the mowing schedule, and they're not on there. It would just be helpful. I just
Oh, yeah.
noticed it, and I
I
just
agree.
didn't know whose responsibility it was,
Yeah.
so that next round, people can be prepared for all the things that they need to do before they arrive.
Yeah, Courtney has been updating that live calendar for us every time she gets a new schedule for the month.
Yep.
Or new services, whatever. It ends up going on there. I have not checked it lately, but it makes sense if it's not set up yet for January because we're still waiting to get some of those like January timelines, I guess.
Okay.
Okay, so other things. Okay, so there's another area on High Meadows that is kind of an open space. Like it seems like an outsider access area that we want to block off. And I don't know the exact area, but I went toward it with our maintenance tech, George, and he showed me. Basically, it's like maybe a 8-foot gap in where sort of the Calusha hedges end, and then kind of the part of our neighborhood begins. But either way, we had that assessed with CPM, and they gave us a proposal to basically fill that in for us. So there shouldn't be sort of an open access to the main street or anything like that. So that's going to get taken care of by CPM too. I believe you probably saw that proposal as well. But yeah, other items. We have to talk to them about tree trimming of our entire community. So being that they were our tree trimming vendor with the lighting, we want to talk to them about the bigger project of trimming trees in our whole neighborhood, common areas. There was also many questions that came from Silverwolf. They want their street addressed as well, which Courtney is going to go out there and assess that situation with CPM, I believe on tomorrow actually, just to see exactly what is the situation, what are the trees that need to be trimmed, and then get that proposal taken care of, because maybe that's a sort of like first step in that direction. We'll take a look at Silverwolf and then assess the rest of the community. But either way, it's going to be a common area tree trimming that I'm aware of. And I think if there's any more personal trees that want to get added on there, maybe there's something that we can work out. But again, those are things that we have to figure out with CPM. One thing that came up toward the end of last year, so we got confirmation that Eliseo, who is our account manager with CPM, is going to continue to be our account manager versus Jorge, who was our previous manager. We had thought he would come back and be our account manager again. No, so Eliseo, who I believe has been doing a great job transitioning in for Jorge. He came from another bigger property. He honestly, I'm confident that he can do a great job, if not better than Jorge. Over time, we're going to see that progress. And John Johnson is sort of his superior in that, so he is involved in just about everything, especially the new projects. So it's been great working with both of them. And yeah, I think just one thing I personally want to do is re-release sort of the responsibility flyer, maybe update it if we need to, make it a little clearer, a little simpler if we have to. But either way, new year, get it back out there, remind people what it is they can get with CPM when they place a work order, what they can expect, all that good stuff.
Can that also be permanently posted in a section of the website?
It should be, but it's a good point. I want to confirm that it is. Yeah, I think there's a landscaping section in there where you can look at different docks and things that we actually had access to, but it should be up there. That's the same thing with Coastal Pest and so they also had a flyer that we created that is up there as well. I want to simplify that even further, but also put that back out there so people know they can place work orders. I don't know of any work orders personally for people wanting the inside of their house sprayed, but I have seen some questions about it, so I think the reminder will help people know that they can get that done just by placing a work order. And I also want to confirm their 2024 project schedule, or projected schedule. So Coastal Pest and Jim, the owner, I'm just going to get in touch with him. One of the things, I don't know if this is considered an open issue or maybe new business, but we want to schedule regular walkthroughs with our vendors. So I don't know if we should be doing these monthly or quarterly. I think maybe quarterly would be better, just because this is more of a long-term thing, and we can just kind of reassess that. But I would like to get maybe majority of the big vendors together in one meeting and just ask bulk amount of questions about what's going on and things like that. But really the vendors that tend to work together, right? So like landscapers, fertilization, irrigation, these guys kind of have to work around each other on the schedule. So I think making sure that everyone's still aligned, there are no problems, nobody's overlapping in any way. That would be, I think, good for all of us, just to confirm that things are working smoothly in that regard. Now, question for you, Tony. Toward the end of last year, you became the lead member for Pest and Fert. I know that might change beginning of this year, so I don't know if you want to, maybe we can discuss that afterwards, or if you're good with staying the lead as of now, and then we can kind of assess it later to find out if. Okay. So that was just one question I wanted to touch on. We actually have a couple lead members in here. We have lead for Pump, Paula. We have lead for Preserve Lakes and Wetlands, Adam. So if everyone's still good with those positions, then we'll just keep as it is for now. And if any changes need to be made, we can make those. So for Pump and Pump Maintenance, we just want to get that diagnostic report from Sullivan, confirm anything that they found. I believe there was one or two major concerns. Paul, if you remember, I think it had something to do with maybe the overflow valve, right? And then what was the other thing?
I don't recall, but we did need to see that report.
Yeah, I don't know if it was a leak or something that they had to.
There was something about how to get it out of that building.
Yes.
From the overflow out of the building.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think we're gonna ask them for a proposal on that, but I believe there was maybe one other little thing that they knew about, they knew they could fix, but I wasn't exactly clear. I think the report was gonna let us know what that was.
There's an issue with the filter.
Was that? Yeah, okay.
Being able to change the filter or something like that.
George may recall that.
Yeah.
But until we get that from Courtney.
I saw that Courtney emailed them this morning and asked for that report again. So, yeah, we should get that pretty soon. Okay, on to Preserve Maintenance. We want to just schedule meetings with all vendors who have submitted proposals. We have one already lined up for tomorrow, and we emailed EDC, who was the other vendor who I think was out here and assessed the preserve in person. We had a proposal, I think a proposal on lakes, but not on preserve. So I have to go back and find out if they sent a proposal on preserve cleanup and maintenance. It's my understanding they didn't, because I saw an email Courtney had resent out about requesting that. So if we don't have it, hopefully we'll get that and we'll be able to sort of compare the most current vendors for preserve maintenance. And then ultimately we want to just kind of, see how things line up from information we received from Lindy and Caleb with the proposals, and also knowing what our budget is for this year, be able to sort of make some decisions this month, and then hopefully recommend the vendors that we believe are the top vendors for this particular service to the board, get that new vendor onboarded, and get the cleanup done, which is the sort of biggest thing regarding our preserve. Then it's a matter of just maintaining it and keeping those exotics out. Lakes and wetlands. So same thing here. We really went all throughout our community multiple times with different vendors last year, and so we're just following up with them this year, checking in, looking at the proposals. But I think ultimately we just have to kind of line everything up, take a look at it, in either a spreadsheet or on the table, and just see exactly what it is that we have at our disposal, and then make some decisions there too. And really the preserve and the lakes, those are the last two, I think, ultimately vendor-based items that we were bidding out last year that we're really close to actually closing on. So I would love to push for those to both get accomplished this month. I know that might be tight with kind of us all transitioning into the new year, but so far everybody seems to be really active in communication, so that's good too. So we'll see. We're going to work on it. And then we got Doug Reed, who is actually going to be back on property this coming weekend, obviously pending weather, but should be fine. And he is going to be covering all of Key Deer and the little Kinglet circle there. And yeah, that should be his first wet check of the new year for us. I do believe there's other little work orders that he dealt with last weekend. That was my understanding from George, but those got accomplished. So really, this next weekend is an official wet check. And that is it. So, okay. Any questions there? Anybody ready? Yeah.
Some comments.
Sure.
When does Doug take care of work orders and George take care of work orders? It's a bit confusing because I okay the bills.
Sure.
And I see bills for sprinkler heads and pipes and things like that. And then George, I could say, George, where's George? Oh, he's fixing a pipe and a sprinkler head over here. When does George do it, and when does he do it? When does he do it? Does he just do it when he finds it, and George does the work orders, or how's that work?
I think it does depend. I think if Doug is on site doing a wet check and he sees a problem, he'll take care of it while he's on site, versus just let it go and have George do it when he's back on property. George can probably take care of.
Yeah, George doing it is more economical than Doug does.
Sure. The only
Doug
thing.
does a great job. I see these checks a little like,
Yeah.
he's getting compensated very well for it.
Yeah.
The more that George can do, unless we have to pay him, is better. So I don't know who makes those decisions. Who is that really Courtney's responsibility, isn't it?
It would be. If she's getting the work orders, she's dispersing them accordingly. So Courtney's probably giving George, sprinkler problems, irrigation, wet checks. If somebody wants to check the timing or whatever, she'll give those to George when George is on site, and she knows that he can go and take care of those that day or that week. If it's something that she believes is out of George's capabilities, then it's going to go directly to Doug. Doug will come back on site either that weekend or the weekend he does a wet
That
check.
makes sense.
Yeah.
But I just in practice because the budget's the budget. And what we give Doug toward that budget is,
Yeah. Sure, yeah, yeah, I don't know exactly how it is going down, like when she gets the work orders. I do know that, you know, George is getting better at taking care of certain things as he starts to learn more and
He's more
more.
aware of it. And,
Yeah,
and I can talk to her about that, whatever we do, George, more and more of those.
yeah,
So that's money out of our pocket.
yeah.
That's good.
My only thought there, though, is just from what I know from, I've seen some of his report backs on like things that he had to change out, what those items cost, huh?
Even me, Doug.
Doug, yes. And what he is doing for us in terms of like, you know, quarterly wet checks, but you know, everything under that umbrella. I think, really kind of got to steal with Doug.
Okay.
Just based on what we had looked at with all those landscaping companies and trying to wrap in irrigation stuff. So, I mean, if the board is seeing something, and I can tell you Doug is willing to come out here and discuss it, but other than,
No.
yeah.
I'm just paying thousands of dollars a month on irrigation fix, and George is doing it as opposed to something like
Yeah, and the challenge
two
is that
people
we're,
making pancakes, and one is charging, and the other one's not.
yeah, and we're working with an old system too, and we have, who was probably the
As
best.
the CPM, they are doing a good job. I like it. I think I got some complaints this time. And I think George is going to address it with them because right now there's short roots and it's muddy and it's cold. There's no growth. So the machines can't go 20 miles an hour making hairpin turns and cutting, whatever. We took some pictures. George has them. He's going to go to the CPM and say, hey, there was a couple of landscapers out in Silver Wolf and one of them came up to me and says, you know, they're going too fast, and that's why you got ruts. So other professionals look at that, and it's a small item, it's something you must be aware of. If it's a wet area, you have to slow down when you cut, and but not make turns, because you'll see, I don't know if you see it in your neighborhood or whatever, but there are in our neighborhood,
Yeah,
these ruts or whatever. So George is aware of it. He's going to talk to the whatever you call it, foreman or whatever was here. What do you call him?
well, we have the account manager and the
Account
branch manager, but
He's
yeah,
going to talk to him about that. Be aware of it this time of year. So.
cool.
But otherwise, we have very, very few complaints from our
Yeah.
area.
Yeah, and they're really receptive to those comments and feedback. I've heard less problems regarding the gates, you know, since they started, you know, so they took that feedback and they were more conscious of, you know, making sure gates were closed, or if they were gonna stay open, that there was somebody there. But beyond that,
I said, there's been no complaints, and it's been wonderful, I think.
Yeah. I agree.
And one other little item, sorry to take up your time, is that Michelle and I were talking the other day, and we thought that what you're doing, your job getting this place, you know, brighter, cheerier, nicer. It'd be great if we have the money, I think we do, if we can find out if we can light up some of those flowers at nighttime.
Like the little,
Little spots or something like that, or maybe there's electric already there.
mm,
Okay, I know we have electrical problems, but that would be nice too, so at nighttime, people come in, because it's 5 o'clock, gets dark, 6 o'clock gets dark. When you're driving home, you see the nice array of flowers, whatever. That might not be a big deal, but maybe your committee can look into that.
it might not be, it might be like solar light or something like that.
It could be,
Yeah,
it could be, but I think it would look nice.
cool.
And
That's
the flowers are a great idea, great, thank you.
a good point.
Can I piggyback on that?
Yeah.
Question about, so the electrical,
Yeah,
is that our responsibility
no, it's not.
for the electric?
Meaning the landscape committee? No,
No.
it's a property management.
Okay.
Council's got to figure out a way to fix that, because I know people still, for your information, did not have Christmas lights this year, even though they paid for them, because it just didn't work.
And
And that's an electrical problem, but we spent a lot of money on an electrician coming out on a routine basis to try to fix it. They can't fix it. So there's just something wrong with that. It's a systemic thing that has to be looked into. So it's on our agenda.
because the timer was also off on the main gate, so the lights around the Highlands Reserve,
They can go on.
the,
One in the morning.
yeah, they're on during the day
On the day.
and not at night, yeah, so it just seemed like a total.
That is a
Total
management.
cluster.
That's a management issue. It's not a landscaping issue. I have to address that.
So it was the electricity, it was not a Holiday Lane company that we hired that failed on that.
that is left to be seen. We're not using that company again, is my understanding, and they fired them, they're not coming back. And we're getting somebody else more dependable that does PGA and a few other bigger properties.
Okay.
So, it's all, you have to wonder if the lights they put up and the connections and everything, because in the rain, even in my house lights, whatever, and it gets in those things, they just go off. They have to be done properly.
Right.
And they have to have a way, because if you look down at Hammer Creek, it's gorgeous.
Yep.
Everybody now, it's just, why can't it happen here? So they'll fix that in the next 12 months, I think. But that's not your responsibility.
Okay. Good enough.
Okay, so with new business, you know, we want to definitely use what we learned from the past and what we accomplished to try and, you know, set some parameters for this new year, set those new goals, and then put a plan together for how to accomplish those things. So, you know, I started putting just a long to-do list together, and you know, it just varies from small items to big items. But to really first touch on some big items, I spoke with Courtney, and I believe a larger tree trimming of our community is a necessity. We definitely need to get on that, probably sooner rather than later. I don't know if we're going to be able to do all the trees in our community this year, but I think maybe we can tackle in stages or phases. So that's one of the things I think we want to clarify with the board and the budget that we have available to us for landscaping projects such as that, and then talk to CPM and get a proposal on whether it's the whole thing and then break it down into chunks. But either way, I think we need to get on that, because you know they could get booked up quickly when really we want them to get started on this. So we don't want to lag on getting that stuff figured out. Also, we want to get back into annual mulching if it's not biannual. But I don't know how often it was done in the past. Do you know how often we would get mulch? Was it once? Okay, so we want to get that booked too before it's too late. So we'll have to get some proposals on that, and that would just be common area mulching, and you know, just to, like what we saw with the flowers. I think new mulching here is going to really make this community pop, and it'll just kind of elevate the general look of all the plants and stuff. So those are two, I know, big projects, because it involves our majority of our community, the actual space. I already talked about getting a preserve maintenance vendor, lake maintenance vendor, wetlands. You know, those we're already working on. And I think some other problems that showed up multiple times, or concerns more so, are the drainage in our community. I think it's an issue for some streets, maybe more than others, but drainage, oversaturation, too much watering, this is a problem for plants, it's a problem for weeds. We know this from all our vendors. We want to try and lower the amount of saturation on the turf in our plant beds to try and keep like the weed and the fungus and all that stuff down, but also it's just going to help with general plant growth. So I think we're getting better at being able to recognize, you know, better timing for the sprinkler system, the irrigation, turning it off, or having a rain delay sensor, all that stuff. Yes, I see a question.
You know how we stumbled across the map in the pump house on
Yes.
those areas?
Right.
And have we reached out to George about proactively taking those particular houses in those areas down in time for irrigation instead of cutting the entire community off?
Yeah, it's a good point to just sort of take a look at where the problem area is and then maybe adjust there first. I agree. Yeah, I think it's a good point. We haven't done it yet, but also that map, that's another good point to bring up, is that we actually have something that is a reference for us, the areas, the controllers, and all that good stuff.
So like if he's driving around and you've noticed it, he's noticed it, then if instead of waiting for a property owner work order to come in, we just go, hey, we already know that these time zones need to be dialed back.
Yeah.
not time zones and the time for each irrigation.
Yep.
Which kind of, I have another follow-up
Sure.
when you're ready.
No, go for it.
It was, we kind of touched on it last fall. It was an idea that, kind of a combination of Doug Reed and Frank Eddy about a post-weather event checklist,
Mhm.
a major event, like when there is flooding or something like that, where we do have the ability to have run programs and change programs where certain streets that drain really well get their water turned back on before some other streets that are already trying to still dry out.
Yeah.
So creating that, as well as a pre-significant weather checklist about checking those weirs.
Yeah.
And making sure they're all cleared out on a quarterly basis and such like that.
Yeah.
So we come up with a to-do checklist for Castle, then I think that would be a very good thing to have.
I agree. I actually already sent that to Courtney, so we can definitely talk with her, see what George can help us with, and also see if maybe it's something that we ask our current vendors, whether it's CPM or somebody like that, when they're out there, they can take a look or something like that. But
What if it's in a team of us? Like,
Yeah.
we go out and we identify those weirs on all of the, I don't remember how many, is it 10 lakes that we've got, whatever it is. We go out quarterly and we go make sure that all of those are cleared of vegetation and not a drainage issue.
yeah, I wonder if we would need an expert on weirs to come out first to assess them, to just kind of get the
Some of them do need, that's a separate thing,
Yeah.
but some of them do need to be flush with the ground, there's erosion.
right.
So they need to be backed up before they collapse and cause us $40,000 worth of damage. That one did.
Yeah, I don't remember which vendor had a recommendation, but one of them had suggested a company that specializes in sort of weir maintenance or something like that, or installation. And I believe Courtney has that number, so we'll have to follow up and check with them. I think it would be good to have an expert come out and actually look at the weirs, and then they can give us a checklist, right? So if we know what to look for, we can say, all right, this really looks like it's got too much erosion. I think we need to take care of this. We can maybe take a photo, send it to them, and that might save them a visit, right?
So should we get a couple volunteers on our committee to try and make sure that that gets guided through Courtney and the vendor and.
Sure. Would you want to help with just sort of getting the ball rolling there?
Maybe.
Okay. The checking of the weirs and having just sort of a schedule for, maybe taking a look at them before we know a hurricane is coming or big storms or something like that. Yeah, definitely. But I think that initial check is going to be important for us to be well informed on the current status of each weir. Yeah. I'm trying to think, is there anything else?
We're about to finalize our search for the replacement of the playground gym.
Okay.
Not gym, Joe Jones.
Yeah.
And I would like to see probably some of your committees, and I'd like to keep an eye on that, because putting it in but having it aesthetically nice and continuous as in the community, just something that's odd or something like that. I mean, the playground's gonna be fine, okay, but around it should be landscape that you put the bushes in. It's got us unsightly out there now, the sand and the muck,
Yeah.
whatever it is there, but it would be nice to keep an eye on that in conjunction with Courtney, to have like an eye on that to see what we finally get. We're very close to getting a company, putting it there.
Nice.
I think the idea was to keep it where it was an idea to take it and put it in the shaded area over here,
Yeah.
but that's not gonna happen. I think it's gonna stay right there.
Okay.
I'd like to see, like, in combination with your grand expectation and plan for the place, that it goes with it as opposed to being an eyesore.
Sure.
Who's in charge of that project?
Courtney, she has like 4 or 5 different vendors. And the last one just gave their bid last week. It's expensive.
Is there any chance at input on that at all, like after this? I'll talk to it.
Yeah, like if they have chosen design or something like that, we can see that.
I think we went for the sturdiest and the most economical one, because they can go up into the tens of thousands and thousands of some are gonna pay $40,000, $50,000, $60,000, that kind of stuff. But she'll take any input, no decisions ever made, so.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, and then if we knew what was going in there, maybe we could work with CPM to try
Change
and
all the bids.
install hedges and things like that if we need. Cool.
I hope you all keep in mind, I know you're doing it, but we have to do our due diligence, and CPM is not the only vendor in town to do a lot of these different projects.
Oh, I
I
know.
one to go to, but there's other people who might be able to do these things.
Yes.
Because I hate to use one guy, we ran into that problem years ago with one vendor, and they just slammed us. Not in the beginning,
Yeah.
but sooner or later they did, because they said, well, they're just using us.
Yeah, I think there's a couple.
Like mulching, I know there's tons of mulching companies.
Yeah.
CPM's gonna come in and say it's $26,000, something like that. Well, maybe, Palm City Palm or Sod or something like that, big mulching companies might have, since they have the product, they may do it cheaper.
I think it depends on the size of the project and the cost, right? I mean, like the bigger projects like mulching, I think we should definitely bid out.
Mulch is gonna end up.
Even the tree trimming, you know,
Tree trimming too.
They did a great job with the pre-holiday light tree trimming, but we bid that out and they were the best. They were also the most readily available. That was another thing.
That's fine.
Yeah, but it's a good point. So, yeah, there's going to be other things I know that are going to start to come up. We don't have to tackle every new item that we're going to cover this year, but I think we have a great crew. I honestly believe that we're going to find these other vendors quite quickly for preserving lakes and stuff like that. And then it's just a matter of continuing to do the things we did last year, and we're going to make a lot more progress, and this community is going to continue to, move in the right direction. So,
Great.
yeah. Anybody, any other inputs or questions? No?
Good job.
Thank you. All right. Cool. Then we'll call it a meeting. And
The committees are doing it now.
yeah, we did it in an hour. I said 2, thinking, man, we're
I'm saying
gonna.
that every committee's.
Nice job.